Okay, I think we've got everything rolling now. Go over here, press that one. I think we have everything rolling, so let's see if anybody wants to join us tonight for this live stream to talk about what is happening in Utah politics. See a few of you joining on Instagram, and we're on several other platforms as well, just waiting for other people to join. Anyway, we are live tonight on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I forgot to do Twitch. Let me enable that. Get us going on Twitch as well. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm take that one off and then go over here. Getting everything set up the way it's supposed to be. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, everybody. Making sure I can see my chat. All right, I think we're set and ready to go. So I'm going to get comfortable and lock in. And I want to welcome you all tonight. It is Thursday night, December 18th, 2025, and this is What the Heck is Happening in Utah Politics. My name is Brian Schott. I am the publisher and managing editor of Utah Politics, Utah Political Watch. You can find us online at utahpolitics.news. Not sure why it's a little choppy over on Instagram. I think I probably have to turn that off. Trying to adjust the stream and making sure everything is working correctly. But anyway, I'd like to welcome you in tonight. And I got to press one button here for TikTok and get that rolling. Okay, now I think we're live on all the platforms that we need to be. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to leave them in the chat, and I will try to get to them as soon as possible. As I said before, my name is Brian Schott. I am the publisher and managing editor of Utah Political Watch. You can find us online at utahpolitics.news. And we've got a lot to talk about. You would think this is a dead period, but there's a lot going on, especially in the court case over Utah's congressional maps. There have been some very interesting filings made. And if you look at the timeline of how everything worked out, it's not, it doesn't look good for the legislature. It's almost as if they're trying to force a do-over on, they're trying to force a do-over because they missed their opportunity to appeal. You hear them talking a lot about how they want to appeal, how lawmakers want to appeal, they're hoping to appeal. But I believe it's pretty clear that they may have missed their window. And now they're trying to get a second bite at the apple. If you read the arguments and you read the timeline as it's laid out and the court rules. And I've spent a couple of days on the phone trying to talk with people about this. Not sure why it's so choppy over on Instagram. Let me see if I can reconnect over there. Trying to get the Instagram feed up and running at least at a better clip. But let's talk a little bit about what's happening with the redistricting case. Let's talk about what's happening. You know what? I'm going to probably have to just restart that chat for Instagram. Let me start this one again. Sorry, live technical support on the air. We're going to try it one more time. Just, it's very choppy, and I didn't want it to be like that. So I'm just going to restart everything. And that just means I have to get a new stream key from Instagram to make this work. And now let me turn that on and see if it works. Sorry, I promise we'll get this going. As I'm waiting for Instagram to connect, it looks like it's going to be doing that now. There we go. So I can now press the live button on that. All right, so we're back, and we'll see if that can get that working better over on Instagram. I'm not sure why it's acting like that, but anyway. So let's talk about what's happening in the redistricting court case. There have been some developments. There have been some court filings. I've gone through those. You can read those at my website, utahpolitics.news. But it sure as heck looks like the legislature, you know how they're complaining about how they don't have an opportunity to appeal the judge's decision. They've been saying that they needed to rush into the special session, change some rules, move back the deadlines for candidate filing so that they could have time to appeal this decision to the Utah Supreme Court and possibly the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, the issue is, the problem with all of this is, they may have missed the deadline. They may have completely ignored the deadline twice. Because there were a couple of filings. The judge is expected to issue a ruling on the legislature's motions. The legislature's trying to get the judge to declare a final judgment, to say we are done litigating, we are finished with everything in this case. The legislature's trying to get the judge to say it's all over with. It's finished. This part of the case is over with, and we can move on. But the plaintiffs are saying, no. We still have some things that we need to litigate. Specifically, they want to litigate the option C map that the legislature passed back in November, the one that the judge rejected. They want to also litigate. Actually, they want to conduct discovery in both of those, in the option C map, and they want to conduct discovery about SB 1011. That's the bill that was sponsored by Senator Brady Brammer. That bill basically changed how Prop 4 operated. It put some standards in place for what would be considered a fair map and what would not be considered a fair map. And basically it made it so that the legislature's gerrymandered map is the one the judge had to implement. And so they want to conduct discovery about those two issues to see if it will bolster their argument during an appeal. And so they're saying, we're not finished. These issues are not ready for a final judgment. That's what the plaintiffs are saying. So let's look at the timeline. On August 26th, Judge Diana Gibson made her ruling that the legislature unconstitutionally repealed Proposition 4 with SB 200. Unconstitutionally repealed the anti-gerrymandering ballot initiative that was passed by the voters in 2018. So on August 26th, she made that ruling. On August 26th, she also tossed out the congressional map approved by the legislature in 2021 because it was drawn under the old rules, under SB 200, which was unconstitutional, so the map is unconstitutional. So she tossed that out. When that injunction came down, lawmakers had a 30-day window to file a notice of appeal. and they didn't. And what's even more curious is that they actually changed the law earlier this year to make an appeal for the state in cases like this easier. What they did when they changed the rule, again, Senator Brady Brammer sponsored a bill that made it so if a judge were to issue an injunction against a state law, which is what happened in this case, then the state could immediately appeal that decision directly to the Supreme Court, the Utah Supreme Court. Now that law change, sponsored by Senator Brammer, that was primarily targeted at the state's abortion trigger law. If you remember, when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in the Dobbs decision, Utah a few years earlier had passed what they call a trigger law that went into effect if Roe was ever overturned. Roe was overturned, Utah's trigger law, which is a near total abortion ban, went into effect. And there was a lawsuit over it, and a judge put it on hold, issued an injunction. And lawmakers weren't too happy about that, so they changed the rules and said in cases like this, they could immediately appeal it to the Utah Supreme Court. They wouldn't have to wait. Apparently, they forgot that this law change that they made because of the abortion bill, because of the abortion trigger law, would also apply in this case. But they didn't take advantage of it. They had a 30-day window. The judge even amended her initial ruling, her initial injunction, on September 6th.